Welcome to the Sassy CEO podcast. I'm Paula Bailey, your host, and in this episode, we are talking all about cash flow, clients, and Christmas. It's that time of year again. It can be a big stress for a lot of business owners. We can start to really buy into a lot of stuff around things having to slow down. And in this episode, I really want to add some value into the conversation around Christmas, festive period, and even help you grow your business over that period. So in this episode, we are talking around some strategies to help you get some quick wins, as well as some longer term strategies that you can implement into the business so that things can be very, very different in the coming 12 months. Now, remember, if you would like to grab yourself a copy of the Sassy CEO Strategic Planning Template, head over to the sassyceo.com.au/gift and just download that for free. But in the meantime, let's get straight into it and talk all about getting more cash flow, more clients, even over the festive period. Christmas time, it is already here, and if you're anything like me, you're in a state of disbelief at just how fast it has rolled around this year. So fast. It is a time of cheer, joy, excitement, magic, Santa Claus, but for a business owner, it can also be a time of anxiety, stress, worry, just fear around what's going to happen over that Christmas period when we start to think that things are going to start to slow down. Now, I got the idea for this episode just from individual posts that I was seeing on social media, conversations that were happening around me in the business space. And I was recently doing a roundtable meeting with our amazing Sassy CEO collective members, and there was a lot of talk around clients, cash flow, and things slowing down over Christmas. And so I really wanted to add value to this conversation in this episode. I think it's a timely spot to jump in and talk about this whole concept of things slowing down, because it doesn't have to be that way. And so let's take a look at a couple of areas that you can focus on to change things up if this is something that's worrying you within your business. So the first thing that I always get every single person that comes my way to look at is to look at what's going on inside of them. So the programming, the beliefs, the subconscious code, I guess, that you've got on board to elicit the reality that you're getting, because that's basically what's happening. You've got a set of beliefs, you've got a set of ideas, values, memories, all that stuff that goes on within your subconscious that literally plays out the movie that then creates your reality. And if you've been following me for a while, or even if you're a new follower here at the Sassy CEO, you know that this is the number one thing that we look at first. It doesn't mean that we don't talk about strategy, because I love strategy, and we look at different angles in the business, and we definitely will talk about that in this podcast. But the first thing that I want to talk about is the most important thing, because I could give you the best strategy in the world to change things up in terms of Christmas, cash flow, and clients for you. But ultimately, if you're running a program that says it's really hard, nobody wants to buy, everyone's on holiday, and I'm just not going to be able to do much, well, it doesn't matter how good the strategy is, you're probably going to end up with that same result into January, depending on how much time you believe it is before business starts to ramp up again. So I think it's really important as business owners always to ask ourselves, like, what am I actually believing here? Where have I developed this idea? And, it was really interesting for me on this roundtable meeting with our Sassy CEO collective to look at where these beliefs come from, because I think they are collective things. It's a collective idea that we pick up, because a lot of people like to say, oh, it's Christmas, everything's winding down, everyone's going on holiday. If you're like me, you've probably spent maybe a period of your career perhaps in the corporate sector, or working for someone else, working in other organizations before you ran your business. I'm recently actually just on holiday now. I've spent the last 4 weeks in South Africa with family and friends. I got to hang out a lot more with my sister and my future brother-in-law, and they are currently working in the corporate sector. And it was sort of a really great reminder for me, how much things actually do switch off and slow down in the corporate sector. So if you've had that experience in early parts of your career, it's inevitable that you would almost sometimes bring that over into how you think things need to roll in business. And this is just a reminder from me, this is a great opportunity to really question, well, why is that? Why do I think that that's happening? Because I know for a fact that when I've helped other women really question these beliefs around what's happening at this time of the year without changing that much in terms of what they're doing, they've started to receive new inquiries, they've made sales, because I guarantee no matter what industry you're in, there is people out there that are interested in the outcome that your business offers, like whatever service it is or whatever value that you offer into the marketplace. There is someone out there that needs it, even if they are sitting down at some stage to a Christmas dinner with their family, that the rest of their life doesn't stop. So there's people out there. It's just a matter of looking at what we're doing around what we're believing, first of all, and we'll talk about some strategies. But, where did you get this? Where did you pick it up? Is it because you've had experience in other industries or other organizations where everything just came to a complete halt and you believe that that's got to happen too? Maybe there's an underlying resentment. You actually want to take a break, so you deep down want everything to slow down, and I'll talk about that in a second and how you can overcome that one. Where is it coming from? There's so much value in actually just taking a look at this and looking at how you can reprogram your ideas and your beliefs about what is going on at this time of the year. So when you've done that, I think the next important thing to look at is actually re-envisioning targets. And I'll explain what I mean by that by using one of our Sassy CEO Collective members as an example. So one of our Sassy members, Simone, has an amazing business in designing houses, designing sustainable, what we call passive homes. And if you're really into sustainability, into homes that actually can almost run without needing lots of bills and power to warm and cool them, it's a very interesting area. Check out passive housing. Simone's a very clever lady, but you can understand how when she first came to me, it would be really, really easy to buy into the belief that nobody wants to design a home over the festive period. They're not interested in looking at that. So once we sort of cleared that up, the next thing is actually re-envisioning the targets. And so a lot of the time, what I do with businesses is actually take a look at the targets and then spread them out over not 12 months, but 10 months. And when you do this, you're giving yourself buffer. Now, for some people, that means that they can take time off because they're buffering their targets over a shorter period of time. But for others, it just means that it gives them the buffer that just in case, there is seasonal trends and, you do find that 1 month is a little bit slower. So buffering that across a 10-month period rather than a 12-month period really helps. And that's something that we did over 12 months ago with Simone because it was something that she was worried about. And we really prepped for that in the coming year. And it made such a difference a year later. I remember her messaging me and saying, wow, it feels so amazing to actually sit down over Christmas with my kids and with my family and know that we can actually pay the team, we can cover what we need to for the business, I can pay myself, and that, business is still booming. The other part of the envisioning of targets is also looking at the way that the business is functioning and the way that we structure the offers and the way that we work with clients, because just because we have done the targets over 10 months doesn't mean you only get 10 months worth of revenue. Most of the time there's still 12 months worth of revenue coming in because of the way that we set things up. So that's just a bonus for the business owner, but we just set the targets up in that way so that we're always exceeding our targets beyond what our initial expectations are, which is what I love to do. I love to overachieve on targets. It's like my favorite thing to do. So re-envisioning your targets, re-looking at, what you're setting so that you're buffering for whether it's time off or slower months, and also then taking a look at how you are setting up your offers, how you're receiving payments, and how you can actually still have things ticking over so that you've got consistent revenue coming in regardless of what time of year it is. So I think that's a really important part of the piece and something for you to consider next time you starting to sit down to look at planning, which I guess is a really, this is the time of year where you might be sitting down to do planning. So take a look at that when you're setting your targets. The next thing that I want to chat to you about is the garden. You're probably thinking, what are you talking about, PB, the garden? So, imagining your business like a garden. They often say the best time to have planted a tree was yesterday and the second best time is today. And the reason why I love that analogy in business is because business is very much like a garden. So as you're listening to this, if you imagine your business right now as this garden, and we look at it in terms of marketing and what you're doing to generate your pipeline of sales and leads into your marketing, it begins actually earlier than the festive period. Please don't switch off at this stage. If you are listening to this and you're like, oh, that doesn't help me, PB, I'm stressed out now and we're into Christmas and yeah, I should have done it 3 months ago. Stop. I've got some super fast suggestions that are coming up in this episode, but just hear me out, because I think this is really important information for you to take on board, especially if you are looking at setting up your plan in the new year. So imagine the garden. We go to plant a seed, and planting the seed might be setting up your marketing, getting your messaging ready. And I think just really deciding ahead of time, like, what is it that you want to be offering, especially over the periods where you maybe traditionally thought it was slow. And I think that means actually getting clearer on what it is that you want to offer the marketplace, who you want to offer that to. So dialing in, your niche and the problems that they have, and really thinking about what they want. I think often when we're in service-based industries, we often can get so caught up, if you're an expert in what you do, you think you know what people want, but really going out and thinking about what they want. It could be asking people what they want and creating from there, so that you are talking about it and you're planting seeds well before we get to a festive period, so that there's lots of momentum and there's lots of seeds being planted and gardens being watered, so that when you get to periods like this, it doesn't have to change for you. I think it's the business owner that doesn't do the watering of the garden, that doesn't do the planting of the seeds, that gets to traditionally difficult periods that where the collective believes that it's difficult, where you might be more at risk of being knocked about a little bit by so-called holidays and festive periods. So start to think about that as you start to lay your plans for the coming year. Maybe you need to start putting in periods a quarter out before festive periods. Better still, be doing it all year round, be laying the foundations for sending out messaging, creating social media marketing, having an actual offer that is relevant to your marketplace, that people actually want to buy, that is scalable, that you can sell over and over again. All those things contribute to you having more clarity, making it easier for people to work with you, and having a very, very abundant garden, even when Santa Claus is coming to visit. Okay, so I promised that we would talk about some, quick fire strategies for right now, because I get it. We're now already, if you're listening to this, you're already into December, and you're probably thinking, well, what do I do about right now, PB? So I promised you some quick ways to start generating some inquiries and some leads into your pipeline right now, because I get it. You're already into December, or you might even be listening to this over into the January period and thinking, well, yeah, I should have done some things earlier in the year, but I didn't. So what do we do right now? Let's go through some quick tips. So the first thing I want you to be really clear on, and I did mention this just before, but it is so, so important, is to really think about who you are wanting to offer something to. So many women who run service-based businesses come to me and they are a little bit all over the place. They kind of want to offer lots of different things, or they just, don't have things dialed in. So it's not very easy for your marketing to really cut through the noise. If people are looking at your posts or they see your stuff, they don't automatically go, oh, that is definitely for me, and I definitely want to follow that person, or, see what that's all about. So, really thinking about what sort of problems you're solving, what sort of offers that you're giving out into the marketplace, and just dialing that in a little bit. That makes your marketing so much tighter, makes your ability to kind of reach the people who are interested in what you've got earlier, rather than sort of feeling like you're kind of just like putting things out there randomly. It's so much better to have that all dialed in. So that's the first thing. Once you've got that, I really think it's about thinking about creating offers for things that they want. So I did mention this before, but let's just dial it in again and really think about your marketplace out there. Like, what are the things that they are worried about? What are the things that they struggle with, that they want to have happen, or that they want to have solved? And it's about what they perceive is the problem. Like you might go, okay, well, I know that, this, and this is actually your problem. But if the marketplace believes that it's just that, say they don't have enough time or whatever it is, obviously it's very dependent on what it is that you offer. This is sort of very, general advice, but think about what it is that they're out there, like literally thinking to themselves is actually the problem. And when you can give people what they perceive to be the problem, even if it's not actually the direct problem, so someone might say to me, well, the reason why I can't grow my business is because I don't have enough time. I know that invariably that's actually not the truth. There's actually way more to why they might be struggling to grow their business. But, me actually talking to people about time and having more time is very relevant because on a surface level, they're out there believing that time is the reason why their business is not growing. So we often will talk about time and time management to just really help people, pay attention and start seeing our messaging. So start thinking about what your market actually wants. And when you've done that, I want you to start actually creating some social content, and you can literally do this on the fly. Please don't buy into, real bullshit beliefs that you don't have time. There's that one again, like you don't not have time. You cannot afford not to be out there and being involved in having conversations on social media. It's like the easiest way for you to be seen, for you to be raising awareness around your brand. It doesn't have to be epic. It doesn't have to be war and peace every day. It's about just being consistent and putting it out there. Earlier on this year, I did a 90-day challenge for myself. I ended up doing about 140 days straight of just getting comfortable with being out there in social media, being part of a conversation, whether it was an Instagram story, whether it was a social media post. Sometimes it was longer Facebook posts. Sometimes it was, just a quick Instagram story, sharing things, but getting better at doing that. The more you do it, it's like exercise. The more you do it, the fitter you get, the easier it gets. So I think actually upping your social content and being out there so that people can actually even know that you exist is really, really important. And helping yourself position as someone who can genuinely help them with this thing. So once you've done those first few steps, it's so much easier then to have conversations around the direct problems that you're solving. Here's also a really quick tip to actually really start to build up your pipeline even at this time of the year, and that's to get connection happening in your business. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. If you are on Facebook, which I'd say most of us are on, or you are on Instagram, Facebook is probably going to be the best sort of platform for this sort of strategy. Getting involved in groups, they don't have to be groups that you belong to, but getting involved in groups where your ideal target market would hang out. So get creative here. Start doing a search. Think about, what other interests might they have, or, what are common threads, and seeing if there's groups out there that actually have those people connected and are already in there. Going into those groups and just seeing what the conversation is like. You can actually go in the search bar of those groups and use common terms that your target market might use. So you might think about, well, what sort of questions do they ask? What sort of common language that they might use, common terms that they might use. And you can go into the search bar, search for that, and start seeing what sort of questions they've got and contribute. Like if someone's asked a really obvious question that you're like, oh wow, that's like definitely something that I help with and that I can solve. It's not about going in and pitching that person straight away. I mean, the person doesn't even know you, but it's about adding valuable connections. So you might help answer the question so that they know that you're actually there. That's the next bit I'll explain. Once you've made that connection, it's, you might want to make friends with them. It's really important when you're doing strategies like this as well is to have your bio prime. So many women I see have their bio on social media, whether it's your Instagram bio or your Facebook bio, and I have no idea what you do. I don't know what business you run. I don't even know if you run a business. And, a lot of women will say, oh, it's because of privacy issues. But the thing is, your business is out there, that your customers are actually hanging out on social media. And business is such a personal thing. And if you're prepared to connect, you will be surprised how much business is actually out there, even over the festive period. So right now, if you're listening to this, if your bio is not primed, and what I mean by that is, It has your link to, your business page or your website, and it clearly says what you do, so that when you are in these Facebook groups or when you are commenting, contributing, helping, friend requesting new people, so that you can connect with potential clients, not to creep on them, but to actually just genuinely connect. When they check you out, they can see what it is that you do. And it's just such a beautiful way just to start forming connections, because these people can start to be the ones that will, see your new posts. So when you post new things on your personal page, maybe they'll see that your business page is linked in your personal page, and they'll go over and they'll like that. But this is actually a numbers game, and it's about connecting with more people, getting in front of more people, doing the activities. So many of you are so scared of doing this, and this is ultimately one of the most important things you can be doing in your business. You will be surprised once you've done the mindset work and you've dialed in your offer, and then you're out there actively connecting in a genuine way as a real human being, not just spamming someone, but genuinely connecting. You'll be surprised at just how much business is out there. I have clients who, connect genuinely with people, and, then end up having connections with them, end up contributing, end up having great conversations. We train our clients to be able to have very soulful, heartfelt sales conversations and welcome amazing new clients that way. So there's some really quick tips to start to go through to change things up for yourself, in the immediate future, as well as some longer term strategies for you to start popping into your plan for next year, so that you can start to change it. Because I want you to, no matter where you are in business right now, to imagine where you could be in 12 months' time. I always ask everyone that, if you and I were speaking in 12 months' time, where would you be in 12 months' time? What would that look like? What would that feel like? And it's, once you elicit that really clearly in your mind, it's about then starting to lay the plans to make sure that you get to that endpoint destination, which is what I'm really passionate about. So make sure you are starting to prep for your plans. If you are like, PB, I've got no idea how I'm going to do that, stay tuned. In the coming episodes, I'm going to be dropping in some training on how you can start setting up your own strategic plan. But in the meantime, don't forget, if you'd like to grab a strategic plan template, or maybe you want to just score your business and check out how it scores using our Sassy CEO business scorecard, head over to the sassyceo.com.au/gift. And, get in there, get your Sassy CEO strategic plan template, or score your business and see how you go. I hope you've enjoyed this wherever you are in the world listening to this. I thank you so much for spending some time with me here. I hope you're enjoying the Christmas festive season, and most of all, I wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday period.